Have you been looking for some goth movies? Because I've got some recommendations. Now, just for some clarification, when I say goth movies, I'm not going to be talking about gothic movies as a whole, because that would be a lot to cover. Maybe that could be another video in the future. I'll be featuring more movies that have things like goths as the main character or have something to do with the music subculture. So without further ado, The Crow of course has to be included on this list. For one, it has one of the best music soundtracks for a movie out there, boasting songs like Nine Inch Nails' cover of Dead Souls from Joy Division and The Cure's Burn. Those are my two favorites. The rest of the soundtrack is good. Those are probably the two most goth tracks on here. I would say that the character himself, Eric Draven, is very goth as well. I don't know exactly what genre his band is supposed to be. It sounds very like rock post-punk when you hear the little bit of it in the movie though. Also not completely related to the movie, but Brandon Lee, who plays Eric Draven, did used to drive a 1959 Cadillac hearse. That's pretty goth. And then of course the movie also includes just tons of gothic aesthetic. The story itself is very like gothic romantic, but also like badass revenge story. It's very good. If you somehow have managed to not have seen The Crow by now, that's your homework. You need to go do it. It's so good. That's like mandatory viewing. If you don't know how much this movie had a chokehold on the 90s goth scene, just believe that like people were showing up dressed as Eric Draven in the clubs. And here we've got The Hunger, another one that is just mandatory viewing for goths. It's got David Bowie, Susan Sarandon. Look, there's even an Ankh on the cover. And it's about vampires. Features Bauhaus. You can't really get much more goth than that. I won't say much more to spoil the movie, but you know, it's very good. Also, can we just get more appreciation for this cover art? Look at it. I need more artwork like this for movies now. And here we've got Gypsy 83. This one I think is more of a hidden gem. I don't see people talk about this movie a lot. It's a little bit harder to find. It was definitely not like as big of a production or has as many big names as like the other ones I mentioned. But okay, just look at this guy right here. I love him. He's one of, I would say actually he is the best representation of a goth, like a true music subculture goth in any movie I've ever seen or TV show. The story for Gypsy 83 revolves itself a little bit more around Stevie Nicks, but the entire premise is essentially these two friends taking a road trip in their Trans Am, so obviously brownie points for me there, all the way to, I believe, New York to go to this night of 1,000 Stevie Nickses. Happens to be at a goth club. There's a lot of goths there. One of the main characters is goth. Killer soundtrack. You hear The Cure and so many other great bands in this. Definitely give it a watch, track it down if you can. It might be for free on some streaming. I don't stream a lot. I'm a big physical media person, as you guys can tell. So unfortunately, I can't really tell you where you can watch every one of these. And here we've got Night of the Demons, another one of my personal favorites. This one is kind of typical cheesy, low-budget 80s horror movie of a group of teens or young adults. I don't know how old they are in the movie. They go to a haunted house on Halloween. Well, haunted house, it's like a haunted or possessed funeral parlor. But, you know, they spend the night there, they're throwing a Halloween party, and horror movie madness ensues. One of the main characters is a goth. It's got one of the best goth scenes, maybe the best goth scene ever put into a movie. I won't spoil what it is. I will say that it involves Bauhaus's Stigmata Martyr, though. It does feature real goth characters, DIY real goth music, and it has a pretty good story to it, ultimately. I would say it's worth a watch. Here's The Craft. I would say this one is actually pretty well known, so a lot of people have probably seen it already, but in case you haven't, you know, it's very much a movie of its time. I say that in a pretty positive way, though. I really enjoyed it. The goth character, they're all like a little bit gothic, but I wouldn't say any of them are necessarily goth except for Nancy. She's very obviously more of like a 90s kind of trad goth aesthetic, but very good movie. Should definitely give it a watch. Beetlejuice, don't say that 3 times. Winona Ryder as Lydia Dietz did an incredible job. I've always really enjoyed this movie because of her character. I think she's truly what makes it. You get to see like some really iconic things like her little spiked bangs. A lot of goths have like adopted that hairstyle. I've seen it kind of exist before then, but not exactly in like the same way that she had it in the film. Just really fun, cute movie. Definitely give it a watch if you haven't. I know it scared like a lot of people as a kid, but like it's honestly not really that scary of a movie. Another Tim Burton movie, we've got Edward Scissorhands. Now this main character, there's not necessarily anything like goth music subculture about him, but at the same time I would say that there is. He's very obviously visually inspired by like Robert Smith of The Cure, with just like his hair and how he looks, but you know, there's also Vincent Price. Okay, maybe that's not necessarily specifically goth, but I feel like somehow it counts. The character Edward very much embodies that type of character who, you know, looks very dark and edgy or scary, but really is just misunderstood. And I think that a lot of goths can very much relate to that. I don't want to necessarily put like a whole bunch of movies that fit that type into this list, because that, again, that opens up like a whole floodgate, but I think that mixed with kind of the goth subculture influence on his appearance definitely adds it to the list. Homeroom. This is very much also a movie of its time, came out in 2002. It's really good though. This one might be a little bit of a tearjerker for you. It is much more of a serious film. It doesn't have necessarily a lot to do with the gothic subculture, but one of the main characters is a goth, and it definitely gets talked about in the film, and you can kind of tell that it does have some meaning to her character, and a little bit of the backstory, but very good movie, more of a serious topic. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. This is again a little bit more of a serious one, kind of like an action thriller at points. I would say definitely you might want to look up like trigger warnings for this movie before watching it, but it's pretty good. I really liked it. And even though it doesn't really have anything to do with like goth music or the subculture, the main character I would say still kind of makes it count. She very much has like a goth or punk or death rock aesthetic. But yeah, very good movie. And it's a whole series. There's 3 movies, I think. I can't remember. It's been a while since I watched them. And here we've got the Addams Family and Addams Family Values, the sequel. Both of these, so good. Again, doesn't necessarily have to do with goth as a music subculture, other than I guess you could probably say that like their influence that they had on it, because the Addams Family as a whole has absolutely influenced goth subculture in many ways, but you know, have to include the Addams Family on this list. I think it would be sacrilegious not to. I mean, just look at them. I'm a big fan of the original 60s TV show for the Addams Family, so I'm pretty critical of other adaptations, but everyone in these movies really gave it their all. They did so good. They're so true to the characters, yet also bringing their own new flair. You know, I can't give these movies enough credit. They're just good, silly fun. If you somehow have managed to not have seen these, there's no reason you shouldn't. They're completely joyful. I love them so much. Good comfort movie energy. Just give them a watch. Mirror Mirror, this is another one I never see people talk about. It's so good though. It's a little more of a classic horror movie vibe. I really enjoy it. It gets added to the list because the main character is very much an 80s trad goth style, and kind of also that trope of like kind of misunderstood character, but it's really interesting. This movie needs more appreciation. Like I said, no one ever talks about this one for some reason. Here we've got Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Now, Elvira, as much of a goth icon as she is considered to be, just solely based on this movie, I actually would consider her not to be that goth. She's definitely alternative, but if you pay attention to like the soundtrack of the movie, and there's a scene where she's carrying her suitcase into the hotel, a lot of the stickers on her suitcase are more in the metal and punk variety, so I would definitely say that Elvira, her music taste and where she aligns is definitely a lot more goth, or sorry, not goth, metal and punk than goth. But, you know, it's still a movie that probably goths should watch. A lot of her appearance is taken from drag and Vampira, who Vampira, oh, goth, absolutely. Her and Patricia Morrison of Sisters of Mercy even like bonded a little, but you know, this one has to be on the list. It just has to be. Return of the Living Dead. Now this one is a gem. I love this movie. It's got to be in the list. You could argue that maybe it's a little bit more punk than goth. I think it definitely crosses the line of both. It's got like 45 Grave and The Cramps and just killer soundtrack. I could not name everything. It's so good. Like, this is a soundtrack that people should just own on CD and vinyl, if it wasn't so expensive and hard to find. You've got mortuaries, cemeteries, classic cars, punks, great soundtrack, and zombies in this movie. It's again a little bit more like low budget independent film, but that's part of the magic of it. This one, fantastic. Everyone should watch it. Lisa Frankenstein. Despite having this on VHS, it is not an old movie. This is a newer movie, but it's so good. It's so good. And as a VHS collector, I ended up having to get it on VHS. So it is what it is. That's why I have it, because I know there will be questions. I don't remember what custom artist I got this from. If you really want to know, I can try and track them down and I can reply to you in the comments. But anyway, such a good movie. I need more modern movies like this. The whole aesthetic through the film, so good. The color palette's adorable. The acting in it was really fun. Good music. And the main character, she's not like fully goth, but she's pretty goth, and there's another fully goth character in the movie. Obviously there's that line in the movie that I think is shown in the trailer, so it's not that much of a spoiler, where she's talking about the cure, and just, I love it. We need more movies like this. Please give us more movies like this. Modern masterpiece. Dead Above Ground. I was hoping to really like this one. I did not enjoy it very much. It does have two main goth characters. They're very like early 2000s goth, but they were not very likable characters, which is the main thing that made me struggle with the movie. I thought the premise was pretty good. The style of the characters is really cool. There's a Firebird in it. I like Firebirds, so, you know, brownie points there. But again, the characters just did not appeal to me. I didn't find them to be very relatable. They were kind of awful. But, you know, there's this one, another good, cheesy kind of revenge horror movie. Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost. Oh yeah, it's a kid's movie, but who doesn't enjoy Scooby-Doo? Everyone should enjoy Scooby-Doo. It's just fun stuff. But, you know, there are some main goth characters in the movie. They are a goth band. It's a cartoon though, so don't take it too seriously. They call themselves eco-goths, and it's a little bit cheesy. You can't take how they manage witchcraft in this movie seriously. Again, it's a Scooby-Doo movie, but the goth characters are very fun. The songs are very catchy. I just think it's good fun. Dario Argento's Demons 2. Now, Demons 1 is definitely my favorite. I like it over Demons 2, but it's much more of a metal movie. It has a very metal soundtrack. It's so much fun. This one still captures a lot of that. Still really fun. It takes off after the first one. You don't have to watch the first one to see this one. It definitely gives you a little more understanding of how the demons work in this universe and what's happened. But this one has much more of like an 80s post-punk kind of gothic, but a little bit more post-punk soundtrack. So I would say that this one counts as a goth movie because of the music used in it, just like how the first one counts as a metal movie because of the music used in it. But really good fun, classic horror. If you haven't seen a lot of Dario Argento movies, you should watch more of them. Here we've got My Summer as a Goth. This one wasn't one of my favorites. I do have some appreciation for it though. It does feature real goth characters, DIY real goth music, and it has a pretty good story to it ultimately. I would say it's worth a watch. Here we've got Little Sister. This one is definitely an interesting movie. It's about this girl who went and became a nun. You don't really know why for a good while, but she's coming home to visit her family for a little bit, and as the title would suggest, she's the younger sister of another character, and I won't say anything more than that about the story itself, just because I don't want to give any spoilers, but you know, it does feature, I would say, probably a little bit more metal than goth, but you can kind of tell that this character listens to both. I can't remember all of the songs featured in this. I'm pretty sure you get some goth songs and you get some metal songs, and it's very cute. definitely recommend watching it. It's a little bit of an oddball, but I think that's what makes it good. Control, the biopic about Ian Curtis of Joy Division. The Doom Generation. This one is definitely much more of a late 90s alternative with a lot of gothic elements. It's definitely one that a lot of the goths watched at the time, even though it might not look as strictly goth now. It's, you know, it's a little bit grungy, it's a little bit punk, it's a mix of a lot of things. But it's a very good, very unique film. This Must Be the Place. Honestly, I didn't really love this one. I don't know that I fully get it. Maybe it's just not that good, maybe it's just not for me. I can't really tell. But it's essentially about like a washed up rock star who looks like Robert Smith and his own personal journey that he ends up going on. It's interesting. It wasn't really for me, but it's out there. You guys can watch it if it seems appealing to you. VHS 85. I'm not usually one for found footage films, but I actually really enjoyed this one. It's, you know, a culmination of a bunch of different characters having their own story that combines in the end. There is a goth character in this, so I would say it counts as kind of like having a main character who is a goth, and it's actually pretty good. Maybe other people are kind of on the same page as me where they're not that into found footage. I found it a little bit easier to watch than some others, but if found footage is your thing, then you don't even have to worry about that. Pyewacket. I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. I had a friend who described it to me in a way that I think really is accurate. They said that Pyewacket was as if Blackcraft Clothing was a movie, and I couldn't agree more. So if you're into that, then maybe it could be your thing. It's another one of those kinds of horror movies that's about edgy teenagers. They get into some evil, and then bad stuff goes on, and they have to try and figure out how to fix it or escape it. So, and here's the movie Goth. I did not like this one. I actually would not recommend it, but it's out there if anyone is very curious and wants to watch it. It does have to do with actual goths, it does include actual goth music, but I hate the premise, I hate the character whose name is Goth. Not a fan of this movie. It very much portrays goths in a way that I don't particularly like, but you guys can watch it for yourselves if you want. It's very low budget, very cheesy. And again, like I said, the main character, Goth, is just like not very savory in my opinion. I don't love her. Blair Witch 2. Again, I'm not huge on found footage. I did like Blair Witch 2 a lot more than the first Blair Witch movie. And it doesn't even necessarily have to do with there being a goth primary character in it. I do think they did a pretty good job on the goth character in this movie. But again, found footage just isn't really for me. I do think it's a little better than some of the other found footage movies I've seen out there. But I could pass, but some of you might really like this movie. Here's Vampire Diary. This one I have mixed feelings on. It's again very low budget, maybe the most low budget out of all of the movies on this list. I think you can find it on Tubi or YouTube for free, but the first half of the movie I think is just excellent. It's really fun and interesting, and it has a lot of stuff with goths and goth clubs and vampires, real goth music, really fun, unique soundtrack. The second half of the movie kind of lost me. It gets a little weird for me. It's not necessarily a bad movie, but it did not go in a direction I was expecting. I won't say more than that just so I don't spoil anything, but really odd movie. Still pretty good. I'd probably recommend giving it a watch. I don't know what you'll expect or what you'll think, but it's out there and it's interesting. The Convent, again, one of the main characters is a goth. Doesn't have much to do with goth beyond that, and I didn't find this movie particularly like interesting or cool, but it was alright. Another kind of like, I think it's early 2000s, I don't remember what year it came out, maybe 90s? It's been a minute since I watched it, but it's alright. It's not particularly interesting or groundbreaking. I didn't think it was super fun, but it was alright. It was alright. If you want a movie to watch that has a main goth character that's a good cheesy horror, here's this one. Repo, the Genetic Opera, certainly an interesting movie. It's almost kind of Rocky Horror-esque, it's a musical. I'm not usually big on musicals, but the music in this is actually pretty good and catchy. A lot of it took off pretty big on TikTok a few years ago, so If you haven't seen the movie, you might recognize some of the songs from that. Joan Jett makes an appearance, so that's pretty interesting. I wouldn't say that the music is like fully goth, but there's a lot of gothic elements to the movie. I think it's just kind of a part of gothic and weird alternative subculture. May and American Mary, both of these are very much the weird girl character archetype. That's the main thing they have going for them. They have a little bit of a gothic aesthetic to them, but not necessarily in like the music subcultural way. I've been told that the directors of American Mary were goth, so maybe that plays a little bit of a role into it as well. But yeah, both of these just like weird girl movies, so I think, you know, that gives them kind of some credit. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, you may recognize this from Bauhaus. That's the main reason I would put it on the list, is it's been used by Bauhaus. And in Bride of Chucky, you get Jennifer Tilly, who is very hot alternative woman, girlfriend to Chucky, who does a lot of the magic behind the scenes. She's a whole lot of fun, just like Chucky is, and I would just recommend it because of her. And we've got Ginger Snaps. Again, a little bit more of the weird girl character archetype, but I think that they very much fit. Now, those are the majority of the ones that I've got for you, but I have a few more bonus movies for you that I don't know that I would fully want to say are like a goth movie, because they don't fit like my own personal requirements of either having like goth music being about the goth subculture, having a primary goth character, things like that. But just for reasons I'll try to explain, I think that they count as kind of honorary goth movies. So if you're interested in any of these, here's a few more. Donnie Darko, it's not about goths or the music subculture or anything like that, not a goth character, but the music soundtrack is very new wave and post-punk. It's really good, super just good movie in general. I would recommend this to anyone, but I think that just because of a lot of the music on the soundtrack, a lot of goths could appreciate it for that as well. We've got Arsenic and Old Lace with Cary Grant. Super fun movie, so adorable. It's kind of a dark comedy, without giving too many spoilers, because this movie is wild. You know, there's a romance that happens in a cemetery, very cute. And then there are little old ladies that are doing mercy kills on people. But there's also, it's based on a screenplay, and the original joke is about Boris Karloff. They had Boris Karloff in the screenplay originally. This unfortunately does not have Boris Karloff in it, but they do make a joke about it. There's a very Frankenstein's monster type character, and it's good fun. Very just cute, dark comedy. Highly recommend. Harold and Maude. Now I know based on the cover, it's probably Hear Me Out, but one of the best movies ever made. This is so adorable. I love this movie. I cherish it. If you don't know Ruth Gordon, she is just a masterpiece of a person. I love her. But this movie, it's very like early 70s, silly, another kind of dark comedy. But what led me to this movie is I daily drove my hearse for 5 years. And if you are a hearse owner or driver of any kind, this is like mandatory viewing. It's not necessarily mandatory viewing for a goth, but it is if you drive a hearse. So that's what led me to watch it. Main character drives a hearse, very fun, very cute. These two are adorable together. They go and they just attend funerals and do little weird shenanigans together. And it's, again, just a really cute, fun, dark comedy. Can't recommend this enough. Anyway, I hope you found a new movie to enjoy, or at least something new to watch.